What's the deal? It's Dale Cover. Welcome to a special edition of the podcast this Sunday. Got a very special guest in the building, my man, the one and only Mr. Marv.
What's happening, Dale? How are you, brother?
Wonderful. Nice to see you, man. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
All right, we got to share this with your peeps, so let me get you this link here.
All right.
And see if we can get you sharing this with everybody in your network. So how's things?
Things are wonderful. Things have been real busy, so we got a lot to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about. And I'm warning you right now, guys. This guy wins awards for talking and telling stories. Good stories, though. This guy used to call me. We haven't talked in a while, but he used to call me and we just sit there for hours. I just listen, man, because he tell those old school stories that'd be mad funny, man. So he's definitely blessed and gifted in that area. But you got a couple things going on, and including the stories, but you also got some other business ventures going on that I want to kind of, I don't even know, guys. I don't even know. I didn't want to ask because I wanted to, kind of have this time on the podcast to kind of go over a few things. I know a little bit, but it's definitely exciting, and I want to get to that.
Well, before we get into all that, how long have we known each other? What, 5, 6 years?
I don't even think that long.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But, I'm watching you, the way you've built your career and the way you've been growing, I've been absolutely impressed with you. You're amazing, the way you do things, and it's an absolute honor to be invited to sit here and talk with you, my brother.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Right.
With that suit on, I feel like I was about to get a raise, though, the way he was saying that, though. Yes. All right, so I just sent you the link, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, we're looking good. So if any issues, guys, with the audio, whatever, let us know so we can get that corrected. But I think we're good to go. Yes, sir. So share that with your peoples if you can. And we should be good. So anybody that's in the house on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, thank you for taking a minute to check us out. But definitely after this podcast, you got to go get out. I know I will be. Yes, sir. All right. So Marvin Marv is a comic, right? While you're doing that, you're a little distracted. But while you're doing that, can you tell us where the Marvin Marv comes from?
All right, the Marvin Marv comes from the first time that I met the great Marvin Hagler. You know what I mean? And when I met him, I was just speechless, and all I could get out was, "My name's Marvin too."
Mm-hmm.
And as he was walking away, he said, "All Marvins are marvelous."
All Marvins are marvelous.
All Marvins are marvelous.
And you definitely didn't want to take marvelous.
Yeah, I didn't want to use marvelous Marvin, so. At first, I battled back and forth with the spelling because I was like, M-A-R-V-I? No, that doesn't look right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I went with Y instead of I.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going on, brother?
Nothing, man. Nothing. Anybody ever tell you sound like James Earl Jones?
All the time. All the time. Sometimes I'll be behind a wall talking and someone will peep. "Oh, I thought you were James Earl Jones."
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you definitely use your voice a lot. Lately, you've been into some thing where you're telling stories. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've started telling stories from the stage. And, it's interesting because it's a little bit the opposite of comedy, because comedy, you don't want to be out there telling a long story without a punchline. You know what I mean? You want to, when I write a joke, I shorten it and shorten it and shorten it and shorten it as much as I can without taking the meaning away. But telling a story is a little bit different. You can just sit there and talk and talk and talk, and so it's challenging and interesting. But it's funny how it's sort of, I think being a comedian helped me be a storyteller, and now being a storyteller is helping me be a comedian, because when you pull what's funny out of a story, then it helps you see when you go to put it back. You know what I mean? So now you're shifting the funny, and now you're paying more attention to what's actually funny in a story.
Interesting. How do you know? How can you tell when someone? Because I always seen this when I see people do public speaking. There's no feedback really. There's people just sitting there like.
Well,
how do you know that you're? Because comedy, you get a laugh,
right,
so you know.
Right.
How do you know in the story that? it's working.
Well, one of the things about public speaking and things like that, there's a way it's all body language. You know what I mean? And you have to look at the body language of the audience. And I mean, if you're telling a story and they're like, then you know you don't have them. But if you're telling a story and they're like, and they're smiling and they're paying attention, then you know you have them.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and it's tough too because sometimes you be at a comedy show, you see that person. Like, hey, put that phone down.
Exactly.
Now it's called Stories from the Stage.
Right. Well, the first organization I started working with is Story Club Boston, and so Story Club Boston, they're out of work out of the Milky Way in Jamaica Plain, and they just recently did a taping on Cambridge cable TV.
Yes.
And those people sort of recommended me to the people that do the television show on World Channel, WGBH.
Mm-hmm.
They said, hey, this guy performed for us. You need to talk to him. And we connected and we made it happen. So I'm going to be featured on their show.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. How do we see the show?
I think it's going to be May 2nd. So I'll figure out when it's going to be broadcast and everything like that. And of course, I'll report it.
Okay.
Let everyone know.
And if there's an online replay, definitely send that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All of that.
Because some of us don't have cable. But GBH is what? Public channel, right?
Yes, it's public. So, yeah, as long as you can just put up a digital antenna and pick it up.
What's that? No, I'm just kidding. My kids say that. What's that? They don't. They know all this technology, but they don't know how to turn on a regular TV.
Oh man,
that's awesome. What got you into that?
Well, there's this group that I'm in, comedian group, and this gentleman Ken Green from the Story Club Boston, he reached out and basically he said, "Hey, you comedians are good at telling stories. Anyone interested in telling stories? It's stories on the stage." And me and a couple of our comics responded and have been doing it.
Nice. Yeah, you definitely tell great stories. That's awesome.
I have a friend, one of my best friends, and I swear, he says to me, Marvin, I want the rights to your life story. He said, the things that happen to you, you can't write.
Right, that's true. That's true.
So he swears I should write a book or something, but it's just life, It's life.
Well, you're exploring it and you're actually putting it out there now, so you never know. That book may come sooner than later, especially if you're traveling around
Absolutely.
telling your stories from the stage.
You never know. Never know. Yeah. If the opportunity comes and I felt that there was a need to work on something like that, then I will work on it. I'm not afraid to jump head first into any project.
That's another thing about you. You do a lot of different things.
Yes, I do.
And you're one of the most creative people that I know.
Coming from you, thank you very much, Dan.
No, very impressed. Like you'll bust out the construction paper and Elmer's glue.
Yes, I will.
From that to power tools.
Yeah. In fact, one of the stories that I just told on Cambridge Cable TV was the time after 9/11. I'm an avid biker. That's why I look this good. And and after 9/11, everyone was patriotic, and American flags were everywhere on everything. And I wanted to participate. I had a flag on my front porch, back porch, but I wanted to do something more. So I took an all-white spandex outfit, and I painted it to look like an American flag. I attached a 6-foot by 4-foot American flag to a pole on my bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
I mapped out a route from Watertown to Cambridge, and I rode with that outfit and that flag connected to my bike.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the response?
Well, the best way to describe that day, and I kid you not, imagine the Patriots win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady is the MVP. And the next day, Tom Brady decides to ride around the streets of Boston on a bicycle. That's what it was like. It was total pandemonium. I had no idea what it made me cry. To be
Really?
honest with you, yeah, I had tears running down my face by
Because
the
of the.
time I got to Cambridge because of the response. I mean, every single person
Hmm.
that saw me that day, I mean, they were pumping their fists out of their windows, through their sunroof, yelling, screaming. I mean, screaming.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought I was going to cause an accident.
Hmm.
I was afraid that I was going to cause an accident. And it was just, I'll never forget that day.
Hmm.
Never. It was just, it was totally, it's kind of funny because the beginning of the route, I could have went down Arsenal Street where it was packed in, but I wasn't confident enough. So I took a side route over to Nonantum Road, and then I sort of connected to Soldiersville Road from there.
Hmm.
Going down one of the side streets, first contact that I made, there was a yard, a bunch of teenage boys over there playing football. And one of the guys was running toward the fence when he saw me, and he froze and just stared at me. And then he started clapping and screaming. By the time I passed that house, everyone in that yard was clapping and screaming, and it was just unbelievable.
Wow.
The funny thing about it is there were a couple of people that rode bikes with me,
Hmm.
and when I tried to get them to ride along with me that day, they weren't having any part of it. They were like, Marvin, I'm good. I want no part of you and your flag outfit and your flag.
Oh man.
So,
Wow.
but it was just something that,
Hmm.
as a creative person and as a performer, I think everyone has an inner guidance, something that guides your creativity. You know what I mean? And I think you have to respond to it, listen to it. Don't question it. Just do what it's asking you to do.
Hey man, you should put on some white spandex and ride around the town with American flag. I'm
Listen,
good.
I kid you not. I was married at the time, right? And so the first day I came home and I'm painting the outfit. My wife comes in the room. She's like, "So, what are you doing?" I mean, I'm almost 40 at the time, Dale. And I was like, I'm going to paint this outfit to look like a flag. I got this giant flag I'm going to connect to my bike. I'm riding around the streets of Boston. She says, "No, you're not." Like, she tried her best to talk me out of it.
Uh-huh.
Even my kids was like, "You're not going to do that around here, are you?" My middle daughter was like, "Daddy, everyone's going to laugh at you." I'll tell you, it really was like that. Why I went through with that project, I have no idea, but I'm totally glad that I did. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I was determined and reluctant at the same time. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't get any support. One of my friends that took the picture, I do have a picture of that day. I had to run the best friend card on him. You know what I mean? I was like, "Buddy, you are my best friend. You got to at least give me a ride back and take the picture. Can
Uh-huh.
you do that?"
Uh-huh.
And he agreed.
You,
Other than that,
you
no
gotta
one was
forward
with
me
it.
you gotta forward me the picture so I can post it and attach it to
I'll do that.
to
I'll
the-
do that.
That's an awesome story, man. What you said determined and reluctant at the same
I
time.
was determined and reluctant at the same time.
I see that's a pattern. I think that a lot of people experience that. You know,
Right.
that reluctance is the fear,
Right.
but that determination is like
Right.
when you know, like, even though I know I'm fearful and these other things got going on in my head, I know it's the right thing to do,
Absolutely.
and that's the courage.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's what it's all about, because not just comedy, I think for any performer, I mean, it's that mountain in front of you is humongous. It's humongous. You know what I mean? And it's terrifying. And if you don't approach it with courage, you're going to find yourself rolling back down.
What are some of those things on that mountain?
Uh, all sorts of obstacles. You know what I mean? And there are so many distractions and obstacles on the mountain that you know sometimes only the determined and focused ones get to the top. You know what I mean? That's why mountains are like this.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone doesn't have a desire to do what it takes to get to the top.
Takes a lot, huh?
It takes a lot. I was watching one of Kevin Hart's videos, and he has his little crew and things like that, and they were doing a little chant after one of their shows, and he kind of had his guys together, and he was like, "Everybody want to be famous, but nobody want to put that work in. Everybody want to be famous, nobody want to put that work in." And it's kind of true, because there are people that want to be famous, have no idea what it takes, what type of commitment and work goes into it. It's incredible.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times you're on your own. I feel like the entertainment is kind of tough, comedy in particular, but maybe in general. The infrastructure, like if you pursue a different type of career, like working for another company, there's a lot of support out there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the system is geared to train and and have a place for you to go and
Right.
do that kind of work. But and even music, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure there, right? I mean, we have streaming services,
Right.
we have clubs and venues. They really, music is a huge part of our society.
Right.
So there's
Right.
trying to make a path where you can actually make money doing music, and there's a lot of competition, but you can see the infrastructure is there.
Right. Right.
With certain types of art, like poetry, I
Right.
had a gentleman last week. He's a poet, Devon
Mhm.
Combs, Mr. Orange. We was talking about that.
Mhm.
Comedy. A lot of the infrastructure is just not there. But at the end of the
It's not
day,
there.
it's about how many people are going to walk in the door and
Mhm.
pay for that entertainment, right?
Right.
With music, you got a club.
Right.
People are going to go out. I mean,
Right.
they're looking for nightlife.
Right. And
Uh,
you can have a music club with amateur musicians, and the crowd is going to go there and accept what they do, accept how they do it. You have a night with amateur comedians, they're going to expect perfection.
Yeah.
They're going to expect you to make them laugh,
Mhm.
and they're not going to accept anything less.
Yeah.
One of the things, perfect example of what you're saying, I was a class clown from the day I stepped into school.
No.
Listen, I got suspended.
Uh-huh.
I got expelled. I got kicked out of school so many times, and every single time, it was doing something to make people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was always doing, but I always did things in a big way. You know what I mean? Like I did things that made the whole class laugh,
Apparently.
or the whole school laugh, and made all the teachers mad. Get him out of here!
Mm-hmm.
Not once. I had a teacher, a nun, tell me, "Who do you think you are, Flip Wilson? He gets paid to make people laugh. You don't." Okay? I went to Catholic
You went to
school.
Catholic school?
Yeah, I went to Catholic school.
Me too, man.
And
Can't you tell?
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Not once. I mean, class clown, first grade through sixth grade, all through middle school, all through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And not once did someone say, "You ever thought about doing comedy on stage?" The first time I did comedy, I was 33 years old.
Mm.
And I'm like, how is it that, and again, I was doing things to make people laugh. I mean, it's like with comedy is contagious. The minute you're on stage and you tell a joke
Mm-hmm.
and you get that first laugh, man, you
Yes.
are hooked.
Yes.
You are hooked like a fish, and you can't walk away from it after that point. You know what I mean? It's the same as being a class clown. You know what I mean? Once you do something and everyone in the class laugh, that type of laughter is contagious, man. And it just, I was like, all right, y'all go ahead and study. I'll figure out something else to make y'all laugh. Because that's what it was like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe things were different back then, but no one had the ability to say, he should be on stage. That's the reason we know Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
He was a class clown, and one of his teachers forced him to perform at a variety show that was in school, and insisted that he do it. And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What if in 5th grade, one of my teachers said, "You know what, Marvin, I'm going to put you on stage. You're going to tell jokes." You know what? That could be me hosting a Family Feud right now.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think that's important to change our approach with our kids if we haven't already. You know,
Absolutely.
instead of like putting them down and forcing them towards a more academic, which you want to do, right? For
Right,
good, for
right,
good reason, but
right.
you also got to be able to recognize their abilities and
Right, exactly. I mean, someone has a 25-pound baby. What's the first thing everyone's going to say? Oh, he's going to play football. Somebody have a 4-foot long baby. First thing, oh, he's going to play basketball.
mm-hmm.
At what point do you realize this person is funny and should be on stage telling jokes?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he come out with a mic in his hand, that's obvious then.
Right. You're wondering who left that there.
You know, so and that's all, you know.
See if we got any comments on here. All right. Okay, we sound good. All right, you guys are on strike for something? Tyler Blackmar said what's up.
Tyler Blackmar. What's up, Tyler Blackmar? I'll see you tomorrow.
Where you at tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'll be at the Pub on Park hosting the open mic night.
Okay, check out the Pub on Park in Cranston. See Marv do some comedy.
Yes, yes.
All right, comedy aside, you got some other things brewing out in Woonsocket.
Yes, I'm in the process of opening Marvin Wells Performing Arts Center.
Marvin Wells Performing Arts Center. That has a ring to it.
Thank you. And it's on one of my shirts right here.
Okay, Marvin Wells Performing Arts Center. Nice. So what is this Performing Arts Center about? Oh, you even spelled it CENTRE. Is
Right.
that special?
Well, there are two ways of spelling center.
Mm-hmm.
When I lived in Dorchester, I lived on the corner of Center Street and Center Ave. And one was spelled...
Everything has a story with this guy. Funny you ask.
And one was spelled one way and one was spelled the other way.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I decided to use that way because there's also another performing arts center in Woonsocket, and they chose to spell it that way too. Maybe that's the French way because Woonsocket is a lot of people in Woonsocket is of French origin.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In fact, as I mentioned that, I went to the cultural museum there, you know, because I want to understand the city that I'm doing things in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked to hear this statement being made. The statement was that there was a time when you could be born in Woonsocket, educated in Woonsocket, work in Woonsocket, die in Woonsocket, and would not have spoken one word of English.
Really?
Yes.
Just French.
Just French.
When was that?
That was during the time of the Civil War. Because during the Civil War, everyone that was available in the North to fight the war, there was no one to run the mills. So they started running ads in Quebec, certain parts of Canada. And the ads ran like this: earn in a day what you can make in a week. Just move to America. And a lot of the French Canadians came down to Woonsocket and they ran the mills while everyone else was fighting the war.
That's a pretty effective ad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
And it got a whole community of people to move down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So Woonsocket. So the Marvin Marv Cultural Event Center. So what is the vision for this?
Well, you know, right now, you know, I still work.
Performing Arts Center.
Performing Arts Center. And I work right down the street from Dana Barrow's basketball camp.
Yes.
And it's a huge, maybe 20, 30,000 square foot facility. And on any given day, man, I drive by there and there's just hundreds of kids in there working on their basketball skills. And that's his way of giving back because he played basketball. He got rich playing basketball. So he says, I want to give back, you know. And I never got rich with this, but, you know, I've been doing performing arts and involved with it for over 30 years. And I really love to see when someone is ambitious about becoming a performing artist. And, you know, you look at every high school, every college, they have these phenomenal athletic programs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Their football teams can draw 10, 15,000 people to a game. You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be nice if they had performing arts programs that, when they did them, had 15, 20,000 people trying to get in to see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Imagine what will come out of that if
Right.
those types of things was taking place. So I have three daughters, and at some point, all three of them were involved in performing arts. My youngest daughter's in college right now, and Maya, and she's very much involved with acting, singing,
Mm-hmm.
and I see the struggles that just getting involved with different things. Like a lot of these kids, when like if they're not in school, then they don't have access to certain programs and things like that. You know what I mean? So you might have a young person who's 19 years old. They're out of high school. There's no more like you know what I mean? They need somewhere to go and hone their craft. And I'm trying to create a place that will be just that place.
I have a cousin in New York, and he just hit college, so he's about the 19-year-old mark,
Mm-hmm.
and following him from around 12 years old or whatever. He had gotten into a acting program,
Mm-hmm.
so a program around his way. It was in the Bronx, I think, and they were just it's acting. So he met a group of like-minded people that accepted him.
Mhm.
So he had a place to go
Mm-hmm.
that he
Right.
enjoyed.
Right.
Kid totally changed
Right.
for the better. You know how
Right.
kids, young, they kind of figure themselves out
Right.
instantly. It
When
was
you
just
allow them to
weird.
be themselves,
That's
you know
what
what
I'm
I
saying.
mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, with a lot of autistic kids, it's not that anything is wrong with them. They just learn differently.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They don't know how to teach. A lot of, regular classes don't know how to teach them that different way that they need to. But what a lot of them have shown is that they can learn to do anything and learn it better than anybody else.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what it's about, what we want to do.
Mhm.
You know, I look at it like this. You look at all the emphasis that go into sports, and I'm not saying that it should not, right? But you look at, I played football in high school, and it was probably the last game of my senior year that I realized I wasn't going to play professional football. All through high school, I wanted to play professional football. I thought and believed that I could play professional football. But in high school, I started to realize, all right, I'm not big enough, I'm not fast enough. You know what I mean? All right. So at that point, it was a great discipline, kept me out of trouble.
Mhm.
But whatever I had put into myself to become a football player, it was a wrap.
Mhm.
I never played football once I got out of high school.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which
Now,
is the case for most.
which is the case for most athletes. After high school, it's done. Okay. Now the few that gets into college and are able to place the sport that they love in college, it's only a small percentage of them make it to the pros.
Mhm.
So when a lot of them get out of college, it's a wrap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Then maybe you make it to the pros. Someone doesn't like the way you look or the way you speak, and decide, you know what, you can't play for us anymore. Like with Colin Kaepernick.
Mhm.
Everything that he put into himself to become a great football player, he's not using right now. Now you teach someone to sing, you teach someone to get on stage and tell jokes, you teach someone to play a guitar, there's no taking that from them. That is something that they will have forever. You know what I mean? You look at Michael Jordan, some say he's the greatest, right? But one day Michael Jordan had to stand on the stage with a teary eyes and say goodbye to the game that he loved so much. Say goodbye to the game that made him famous. You know what I mean? And he had to step away from it. Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, with all the wealth that he has, I guarantee you, the day that he says goodbye to football, he's going to have tears in his eyes, if not running down his face. You know what I mean? It's going to, you know what I mean? So, an artist, the Michael Jordan of hip hop, Can do it to the day he dies. Jay-Z. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. And you continue to get better
Right.
also.
And even as an athlete, it's seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Professional athletes, it's seasonal. You know what I mean? You can't, you get the itch to go out and perform, but if it's not football season, you're in the field by yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As an artist, you're in season anytime.
Yeah.
You're in season when you decide you're in season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's powerful about being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. Oh, that's amazing. And then, yeah, and a true artist discovers and explores different areas. You know, it leads to, like, you see a lot of comics, for example. Sinbad, he plays the drums.
Right.
I seen in one of his shows,
Right.
he was rocking out with the drums. We
Right.
saw Eddie Murphy singing, you
Right,
know.
right,
Because,
right.
you know, when you're creative like that, you want to be able to put that energy in as many places as possible. And you never know what you can be from doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, my opinion, and this might be a biased opinion, but I think that comics are the most creative entertainers, period.
You think so?
Yes, I do. Comedians.
The most creative. All right. Why? What's your argument there?
Well, I think that, again, every comedians have more obstacles than any other entertainer. I mean, you take someone who's playing their guitar on stage for the first time, they don't ever have to worry about anyone coming and snatching their guitar and telling them to get off stage. I have seen people go and take the mic out of comics' hands and say, "Get off this stage."
I've seen that too. Yes. Yes.
Hey, you remember the old guy that went off on Derek Fonseca down at 10 Rocks?
Yes. Yes, you were at that show. Were you guys at that show? Some of you guys were. That's classic. Red.
That's it, right?
Yeah. So real quick. So we was at a show. Marv was on that show. I didn't forget you was on that show. Derek Fonseca, myself, and an older gentleman. Red's got to be about in his 90s.
Yeah, I know.
And he was there, and there was a couple that came in with a newborn baby, and the baby was in a baby carrier. And we're comics. We just like to have fun, so we're picking on them, and basically telling them they're bad parents because it's a newborn baby and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock or whatever. But it was just having so much fun, and they laughed. They were laughing too. They enjoyed it. It was just funny stuff that we was just poking at them. But Red took offense, and
Red shut it down.
yeah, he shut it down. But the funny thing is, was it Danielle Ferguson or someone else recorded it?
Really? Oh
I
yeah,
have the recording.
oh man.
Yeah, I do have it. I definitely have it. And so it's funny. And one of the quotes he said is, "You gotta learn how to run your mouth.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to run your mouth. Learn how to be you." That was the quote. But anyway, yes, that happens to the best of us.
And and one thing with that being said, I had a couple of conversations with Red,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me that he sings.
Mm-hmm.
He actually sung for me. He has a nice, deep voice. He sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I also want to do and focus on is, a lot of times you hear stories of parents who are entertainers,
Mm-hmm.
performing artists, and they put their career on hold to focus on their kids. You know what I mean? Then the kids are grown adults on their own, and they still have that passion for their craft. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they might say, well, I'm too old. No one wants to hear me sing. Nobody wants to hear an old person do this or do that. And I want to encourage people like that guess what? There is someone that wants to hear you sing.
Mm-hmm.
There is someone that wants to see you act. You know what I mean? Because what's the one thing that Susan Boyle shows us? Talent is not lost on age.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, a lot of music producers, when they're looking for people to work with, they're looking for a certain image. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
talent comes in all shapes and sizes. You know what I mean? So the approach that I want to take is I don't have a vision for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to do is bring artists in, help them cultivate their careers, and develop their own vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That way, because that's what's important for them to understand and understand how to take control of their career and how to map out their career, how to avoid obstacles and things like that. So I'm not looking for someone tall and slim to play this part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for someone short and beautiful to play this part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for whoever is passionate about performing and wants to get better. Period.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Marvin Wells Performing Arts Center, man, that's going to be a great resource in that area.
Yeah.
Definitely a great resource.
Yeah. So speaking of that, one of the things that we're going to be doing is looking for volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
People to work with us to help put together different workshops and programs and things like that.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a place where someone who sings in their shower, sings in a bathroom mirror all the time, can come in and actually work with engineers and put together a song to music and have it recorded and mastered and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something that they can go and say, listen to this, and pop in or whip out their phone and let someone hear them. And if it's got, mileage, we'll see what kind of mileage it has.
Mm-hmm. So when will people be able to start frequenting this performing arts center?
I would say by mid-May. By
Okay,
end of May, we should have everything ready. And one of the first things that we want to do is start having like talent auditions, just to get an idea as to what type of talent is in the area, what people like to do, if they want to rap, if they sing. Then we'll work with the bulk of the people that come through the door looking to advance their careers.
All right, yeah, man. I always wanted to be a rapper, man. You know what I'm saying? hey, don't judge.
Well, you know what I mean. You always gotta. I think you always gotta have a little bit of flowability. Like
everybody raps.
You remember when Bo Jackson was the biggest athlete on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
And Q-Tip says, Bo knows this, Bo knows that, but Bo don't know Jack, because Bo can't rap.
Yeah.
That was a powerful statement, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't realize if Bo can rap, he'd still be in the news right now. Where is Bo Jackson right now, anyway?
Not playing football.
No, he's not playing football.
All right, so how can they get in contact with you, Marv?
My phone just got recently shut off, but no, I'm just
Damn.
You can catch me on Facebook.
Yep.
Marvin Wells. I have a page, Marvin Wells, on Facebook.
Yep.
Marvy Marv. Either way like that, Send me a friend request. Stay up with what's going on in Woonsocket.
And if you want to contribute, help, donate, you can also purchase one of these wonderful T-shirts you got there.
Yes.
Can they see that? Show them that, man.
All right.
You can make a donation, or you can buy a T-shirt.
You can support the arts by purchasing one of these T-shirts. Now, the back shows the address. That's the address to the location, 12 Main Street. Now, let me talk about the design here, because I designed it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as you notice, the hand that's holding the microphone is a woman's hand. And I designed it that way for a reason, because I look at things like this.
Is that Jill Scott?
Well, I look at everything like this because I want this to be a place that's fair and open to everyone, And a lot of times when I'm looking at marketing materials and things like that, whenever there's something that uses a hand, like a thumbs up or pointing that way or holding a microphone, 99% of the time it's a man's hand,
Mm-hmm.
And I have 3 daughters, and we all need to share in this activity here, you know what I mean? So in honor all the women in my life and female performers, I decided to put a female hand holding that microphone.
See, that's what I meant earlier when I said you're like real creative and stuff like that. Only you think about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Only you think about those small details and those small meanings that that subliminally mean something and makes people feel welcome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. All right, so thanks for coming by, guys. Follow Marv. Like he said, in May, you'll start to see, I'm sure on Facebook, you'll start to see posters and advertisements for things going on, so stay close. And, you know, it's a community thing, so it's going to go as far as Marv and the rest of us are willing to help take this thing, right? So definitely participate. And if you got little kids and they got some talent, I got a little one who loves to sing.
Really?
Loves to sing. And my wife and I, we always say, you know what, it'd be nice to get lessons, but we don't have the resources, meaning like I don't really know where to go. Like you know what I mean? I don't know who would be a good person to be able to help cultivate that. So a place like that, that would be one thing I would be looking out for, you know? And I'm sure there's people out there that you're gonna fish those people out.
Right. And as you mentioned that real quick, you know, I love watching shows like The Voice, American Idol, and things like that. And they don't really clown the artists like they used to when Simon was there. But you remember the days when people would get up there and they were just absolutely awful. Simon would tell them they're awful and laugh and joke at them. You know, I would feel bad for them because a lot of them would cry because they thought they were good. They wanted to be good, and they thought they were good. They just didn't have the right guidance and encouragement. You know what I mean? And those are the type of people that I want. You know what I mean? Not everyone has a father or mother who's a singer that can teach them to sing. I mean, Whitney Houston's daughter should be a singer. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And she did sing. You know, a lot of professional football players, their kids are professional football players. A lot of basketball players, their kids are basketball players because guess what? They can teach them how to do that.
And that's what it is. That just goes to show, right? It's training. It's being taught.
It really is.
It's learned. It's not like Del Curry's son, Steph Curry, just came out and is one of the greatest shooters to play the game just because of who he is.
Yeah, no, it's because his father know the routine to put him through.
Yes.
So he would be good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference right there.
So that's awesome, man. So appreciate the good work that you're doing. Appreciate you coming by, brother.
Appreciate you having me by, brother.
Man, anytime. And you know, definitely come back whenever you got something to say. Come back and you know, we'll kick it.
All right. And we got to put another show together, the two of us.
A comedy show?
Absolutely.
Oh man. Definitely. You know, I'm always down to do comedy. It's been a while. Last time we did something was at the lower level. Oh no. We did something.
Victory. Oh, speaking of that, we have what's the line?
You got like 10 seconds.
All right. 420 at Victory. New England artists support. You must be with the 10 seconds, man. I was like, I got 10 seconds. New England Artists Society at Victory.
Okay. There it is. New England Artists Society at Victory on April 20th.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
All right, my man. It was good.
All right,
Peace,
brother.
everybody.